Welcome to The Big Break Show, a podcast where we discuss short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, life, mindset, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Rafa and Jesse Vasquez.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Big Break Show. Thanks for being here, everybody. This is episode number what, Jesse?
24. Can you freaking believe it?
Bro, we're almost at a quarter. Oh my goodness.
A quarter, man. Yeah, you're totally right. Today's episode is probably one of my favorite episodes we've ever had. We have Mr. Omid, who's an investor. Not only is he funny, but he's also smart in what he's doing in the real estate, short-term rental, tiny homes. Like, this guy is freaking crushing it right now, and I'm super excited to have you guys listen in on what he's doing, because he really is paving a way for the short-term rental industry. So yeah, what do you think, Rafa?
Yeah, man. No, I was super excited that he wanted to come on, because he's quickly becoming one of like my friends to talk to, because he's a cool dude, like all around really good guy. And yeah, he's a beast, man. He's got a lot of knowledge, like I'm trying to pick up as much as I can from him, and he's super cool, super fun to be around, and very easy to talk to. And man, his experience is just, another level. It's always good to have these people around you, and I want to be one of the people that are around his circle as well. So I'm excited for this episode, because it was one of the funnest episodes I think we've recorded. I had a blast recording it. We joked a lot. We made some good jokes. We dropped a lot of good knowledge. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah,
it's a little PG-13. So yeah, just make sure that no kids are around you listening to this.
Make sure there's no kids around you guys on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoy this. Leave a comment if you do, share it, like it. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, please rate the podcast. It helps with the algorithm.
Por favor.
Whether, just say good episode or whatever you want. We would really appreciate it, because it helps reach other people that can, get value from it. It's not even to grow. It's just to help as many people as possible. That's the point behind this. So thank you all for being here. Without further ado, enjoy the show. Omid, dude, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, man. I'm excited to have you on here, going to your journey about real estate investing, short-term rentals, and what you got going on, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Rafa and Jesse, I'm really appreciative of you guys having me part of the show. And I love the very first episode where you guys kind of break down like the concept of it, and I think it's awesome. So I'm just excited to be a part of it. A lot of heavy hitters so far, so it's an honor. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, man. No. Yeah, thanks. For sure. Tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, what you got going on, like your past. Like, we want to get like into the weeds of like before, because I met you after, like, you're already a real estate investor. You already got a bunch of short-term rentals. I want to know, like, before that, who you were, what you did, where you grew up. Like, give us our backstory.
Sure. So I think like a lot of people, I'm a child of immigrant parents, so just really seeking this American dream concept. So I think I really want to even talk about like mindset and kind of shifting from like what I think the idea of like the American dream. And but yeah, so two immigrant parents, grew up in Southern California, did all the traditional things you're supposed to do as far as how you define success. So get good grades, study, go to college, get married, buy a house, have children, do the corporate job and work in the corporate job. And, at some point I started realizing I wasn't growing, and I started just kind of poking around, and just came across real estate. And so I just want to really like kind of share kind of my journey as far as how I transitioned to different niches and just identified what worked for me, and eventually leading to where I am today. And that's in, investing in short-term rentals.
And when you say you were part of the corporate world, like, do you mind if I ask what is it that you were doing specifically? And on top of that, like, did it help your investing journey, or was it something that you're just like, I want to get away from?
Yeah, the company I work for, I don't want to put them on blast. They're a great company. So it's, I was with the same company actually for 18 years. So that's not traditional in itself, but I worked in management. I worked in the insurance world, so I worked claims. It's really you're managing people and processes. So just like any sort of business, I really specialize in building teams and having them perform at a very high level. And specifically, it's claims. So it's just mitigating issues that arise. So that really translates even into like Airbnb. So somebody gets in an accident, you talk to them. Find out what happened, investigate, kind of give them their options, and then even just getting more in debt in terms of dealing with people's injuries. So like negotiating settlements with people, like you see those, you guys you're, SoCal, and I know NorCal has different versions of like, call this attorney, and don't let the insurance company like rip you off. And so, I was on the insurance side as far as trying to work out some sort of a agreement so they wouldn't sue our insured involving auto accidents and injuries, and end up managing just a lot of different departments involving different niches of injury. So that translates into like just a lot of the things we do today in terms of, you just build relationships in whatever, sort of business that you're part of, and execute on processes.
So I got to ask you a question then. Have you gotten really good at figuring out claims with Airbnb? Because we all know they're terrible.
Yeah. Oh man, I think what's interesting too is you're dealing with like people that sometimes are not local, and so that's a challenge in itself, right? And figuring out kind of how to navigate procedures, and then being familiar with procedures, and how you can kind of have those conversations. So a great example is even just like talking to you, and how you share your experience specifically around challenging reviews, and that's being familiar with like the procedures, and then identifying something that you can challenge a bad review. And ironically, after I had that conversation with you, we had a guest, and they complained about pricing, and I remember having that conversation with you about how you challenged the guest because of pricing. And so I started getting more familiar with the procedures, and right away I did what you had suggested, which is just proactively call versus being called in somebody's, because I anticipate they're going to already like complain. So just through the messaging that we had, so I called, was proactive, and let them know. They said, hey, call me back if something happens, and boom, I get a bad review. I call, and then it gets removed literally same day. So it was awesome process. And that's, I think, being familiar with processes, and how you can just kind of use those to leverage your, just to be successful in your business.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so I have a few questions, but I want to take it back to the mindset shift, right? A lot of people are 18 years is a long time, right? So
Yeah.
what made you, you have a secure job, you're doing good for yourself, obviously, right? 18 years, it's basically I'm assuming it was what you were using for your livelihood and all that, right? Without
Yeah.
getting into the details and the weeds of it, but what was that mindset shift for you to go, I now think I want to start investing and transition into something different for myself, right? Like what was that how did that look?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys even talk about it a lot as far as like the entrepreneurial spirit that you guys kind of were around like early on. And my dad was an entrepreneur, but for me it was I was just used to like I just give me a job, I'll work really hard, pay me good money, and kind of leave me alone and give me some benefits, and but at some point I think that gets kind of old. And so for me, I think what happened was one year I was consistently one of the highest performing people year after year. And one year I get a raise, or we have a discussion around a raise. And as you know, like raises sometimes, most of the time, don't even like keep up with inflation, especially this year. And so I had this discussion with my manager at the time, and she's like, "Hey, you're like the second highest paid person at your pay grade, and even though you perform at such a high level, you're not getting a raise this year." And so for me, like that was like, I was crushed. I was crushed because for me, you want me to jump through hoops? I'll jump through hoops. Whatever you want me to do, I want to perform at a high level. Pay me. And so I started realizing, okay, I'm not really getting paid for what I'm worth. So I just went into this rabbit hole of, okay, I spend 10 plus hours, maybe extra than my next peer, in just to stand out. So I'm going to divert those 10 hours and start really getting into real estate. So I started listening to podcasts. I started reading books and networking, and that really kind of led me into just multiple niches of real estate. And the first time it wasn't successful, and but I think what that did was each time I got into a different niche in real estate, it became a stepping stone, and I met somebody new who taught me something different, and then my mindset slowly started shifting. So like I know people always talk about rich dad, poor dad, and I wasn't introduced to it till way later. And but I think just being around people who wanted the same things, I think allowed me to kind of shift my mind. So I think it's just like moving outside of like your typical circles and learning from them. And so I think that's really gotten me to kind of think, okay, how can I consistently network and learn from other people? And you know, I think you guys even talked about it in your podcast. Is like you don't want, I want to be like the dumbest person in the room. And so it's it's very cliche, but it's allowed me to kind of learn all these little things over time to then really take the step. Because I think the biggest thing I think sometimes is like the fear factor of the unknown. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that learning phase where they want to learn, but then they never take action. So it's just really getting involved, taking action, even if it's not necessarily like the best deal, or it just putting yourself in a position to kind of learn.
Yeah. You know what? I love that, Omid, that you brought that up, that, your mind shifts with people that you're around. Do you remember the age that started happening to you? Like, was there like a certain age where you just like, I have to change what I'm doing. I need to change the people I'm around. Because I remember it specifically. It was like one of those moments in my life where I was hanging around with a bunch of idiots that were like smoking weed all day, still living with their parents. I lived on my own, and there was just something that happened where I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't be around these dudes doing this stuff. Like, I have to like step up and do things. So I always had it in me, just like you. We both come from, and Rafa too, immigrant parents. So we have that old school mentality of we got to bust our asses,
Yeah.
we got to work, like, no matter what. You'd be
Yep.
the hardest worker in that room, and then something happens, like something changes, and it's what you've learned, and you watch your parents who are like busting their ass doing stuff, and yeah, they're doing well, but
Yeah.
you want to do better than what they did. So was there like a time where you just had that like epiphany where you're just like, dude, I gotta change what I'm doing?
I think for me, it's just like learning to be resourceful, because I feel like I don't want to necessarily reinvent the wheel. You just learn from others. So, I think for me, it just, I attended, and this is like, so I attended with my current partner, I attended this boot camp right before COVID happened. So it's more recent, like it's, less than 2 years ago. So I've always been a hard worker. I've always wanted to stand out. So that's always been since college. President of, this club, vice president of this club, internships. But I think the actual shift of like working hard to actually working smarter, I think just came more recently. So attended this boot camp, and it was a apartment syndication boot camp. So Rod Cleave had an event. It was in LA, and my partner at the time, he has a more entrepreneurial spirit, and so he's just like, hey, let's join this program. And the scarcity mindset of me is like $20,000, like that's too much money. Like I don't know if I like, what are we gonna really get out of this? I was skeptical, but I think joining that program really became the catalyst for a lot of things. It became it's almost like a country club. You get access to all these really high performing people with different mindsets, and they all are, not only do they have the work ethic, but they also have like a different like attitude. And it was really like having discussions with them, networking, participating in just different activities with them. I think really doing these masterminds, like, I'd wake up 4:30 in the morning to make sure that my time zone matched somebody else's time zone. So I think because of COVID, it forced us to kind of do a lot of these more virtual type. And I know you guys did like Clubhouse. For me, it's more like doing like these Zoom calls, and that allowed me to kind of expand my network. Normally, you meet somebody at a local REI, meeting, and there's some great people, but I think expanding it, like through the whole country, I think that really kind of shifted everything, and got me like accelerated everything quite a bit.
Omid, it's awesome that you're bringing this up, man, because we were just talking about this in the last episode about being around, high caliber people and putting yourself in these rooms. And oftentimes to put yourself in these rooms, it's expensive, right? These mastermind groups get expensive just to be a part of. But and everybody goes, well, I don't know what the value behind it's going to be. Is it really like, am I going to get something out of this? And you're like, well, there's no actual physical object that's going to tell you, hey, it's worth what you're paying for this one thing, right? It's not like you're trading 20 grand for a car, or I don't know, a collector's item or something. But one relationship that you might build there, or that one piece of advice that you might get that changes your mind shift, that clicks you and just pivots you to a whole new level, there's no value behind that, right? You can't put value behind something that's going to shift you from level here to level here, right? You're going to go from the bottom floor to the roof, and now you got that new roof. You got to find a way to make it your floor so you can get to the next level, right? And now you got to join bigger groups with smarter people, right? Wealthier people, people who've been through the ropes, people who've been through the ringer, who know how to help you get from point A to point B faster. And so I love that you said that, man, because that from what I understood, it's really what shifted your mindset is what clicked and said, hey, now I'm in this place. It's an actual reality, right? It's now something that where before it was maybe what if that would happen. Now it's like, man, I can totally make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, and just like you said, I think you come across, you don't know who you're going to come across, and I think it's really what you make of it. But when you think about it, like I joined this program. This other gentleman that was a part of this program, he was trying to do apartment syndication. I ended up going into short-term rentals later that summer. He ended up going into short-term rentals that summer, and so we both kind of had parallel journeys where myself and my partner are acquiring properties, and then he's acquiring properties. But he introduced me to a different market. He introduced me to a different broker, and that broker facilitated for me to purchase some additional new construction deals that were off market. And I think that was just the power of the one relationship. And that's why, all those meetups are just a stepping stone for something else that you don't even know is going to actually happen or exist. But I think it just, providing value for your peers, building those relationships, maintaining the communication, and, things will follow. So, I'm a firm believer of that. I think it shifted my mindset where I was always skeptical to pay for like these conferences. But when you think about it, people pay for your traditional 4-year degrees. What in the 4-year degrees, you just go and party. If you do it right, you network, you party, and but then you forget about it. And I think with this, it's more relevant to just being around people with the same mindset and where you can learn from.
Yeah, we had a guy here. Remember, it was Onaje, Jesse,
really
good friend of mine, and he talks about. We went into a little bit in the weeds of like going to college and universities and stuff like that, right? And how much money you spend, right? You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And you learn one thing that you might never even apply in real world, right? Like I don't know, some kind of business degree or whatever people go out there and get. I didn't go to college, so I dropped out. And so, but the what he was saying is, it's more of a networking group, because the people that you meet during that 4-year, 5-year period are the people that are going to escalate you to that point in the future for future relationships. Same concept here, just shorter groups, right? Less money, because some of these mastermind groups aren't that expensive. You're not paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these, right? And the people and the networking that you make and the relationships you build there are the things that are going to send you to that next level, man. So I appreciate you talking about this a little bit. Let's shift the conversation, if you guys don't mind, because I want to talk about your badass tiny houses, man. Let's talk about those for a second. So, I've seen them. They're awesome. Jesse, have you seen them?
I haven't. Where are they at? Send me a link.
They're all in Joshua Tree, dude.
Oh, yeah, Joshua Tree.
I'll let Omid talk about them. Because they're beautiful.
Break it down, because I've always wanted to get into tiny houses, and it's like one of those things that I've always felt have been such a they're trendy too, and like they're cool. They photograph well. The millennials love them. So I think they're such a cool, and I think that we're actually shifting the market, the way the market is, the real estate market. Like, dude, tiny houses are going to be like an actual thing. There's going to be communities, and I promise you guys, in 5 years from now, and I think there already is in Florida.
There already are.
There's tiny house communities. So yeah, dude, tell us about what you have going on. Like, I really want to get involved in that. Tell us about maybe your first deal too, after you jump into this. I know that you said you had a broker that helped you out for your first space. But let's talk about the tiny houses, and we'll jump into your deal.
Sure. Yeah. So our very first short-term rental we actually bought in Tennessee. So that was really the catalyst. So we bought it in Tennessee. We realized, oh wow, this cash flows, makes great money. And my partner had done some research. So as far as doing the research, we target, these vacation rental markets. So we pulled data. So pulled data around visitation for national parks and trends. And we're trying to identify national parks and where are there additional trends in terms of increased visitation, and then also price points, like as far as like price points where they made sense in terms of occupancy. He had identified Joshua Tree. I'm not ironically, originally I was never a fan of Joshua Tree. Like, just like my idea of a vacation would be like, go to the beach somewhere, like get some, layout. And so desert it was never really my scene. So he's like, yeah, there's this, Joshua Tree. And then first we looked at a turnkey property that was already an existing Airbnb. So we felt a little bit more comfortable because it required a little bit less heavy lifting. We were both working W-2 jobs. And so it was a little bit easier to kind of launch. So we purchased that. A month later, an opportunity for this tiny home comes up. So there's this tiny home that is available. It's a 400 square foot tiny home. So the builder is also the realtor. So it just got on the market, and my partner was really into the concept. And again, me limiting beliefs, right? I'm just like, the conservative side of me is like, okay, like per square foot, it doesn't really make sense. It's really expensive. Do people really want to stay here? And but I think for me, it was just like I want to have an open mind. So I'm okay. Let's try to acquire this particular property. So I reached out to the broker, and really my approach with him was, hey, we're looking to scale long term. We're brand new to short term rentals, but we're looking to scale long term. We want to buy multiple properties. We see that you're the listing agent. What is like, how can we be like top of the list, or be able to acquire this property? And are these being purchased at asking price? And just having a very fluid conversation. And after asking a lot of questions, I realized what was important to him was that he wanted to be able to build maybe an ADU on the actual like unit, or on the actual like lot, because it was I don't know, half-acre lot. So because that's like the builder side of him. So I was like, hey, we would love to like build another unit in the future and use you as a builder. And so long story short, we acquired the property. We went through a lot of like optimizing over the years. So I think when you first get to, this tiny home property, you're trying to figure out, okay, so how can we market this so that, it maximizes on profit? So, you play with design. So first we start with a mural because you want to do the Instagrammable moment. So we add the mural. We add a mural inside the property. And then we look at realizing, okay, maybe we need to like, we kind of capped like the performance of the property. So at the time it was, when we originally bought the property, we were thinking, okay, maybe it'll make 50K. We purchased it for 285. We're like, okay, it'll gross 50K. Then we realized, okay, we're not really making that much more money on this. Is there anything else we can do to it? So we added a mural. So we added a mural that was outside. So we added the mural, and then we realized there's a lot of people that come to Joshua Tree, and we're always getting inquiries with people with dogs. So, okay, let's make it dog friendly. We realized that it wasn't dog friendly because there's nowhere to put the dog. So we're like, okay, let's add an enclosed fence. So we add the enclosed fence, and then we're like, hey, let's just test out this hot tub. Let's add a hot tub, see what happens if we add the hot tub. So we started kind of playing with it, and over time, last year we optimized it where it was grossing on average about 9K per month, 10K. So now this year, it's looking to do about 100K or so. So I think it's just you just got to kind of play with the market, figure out the pricing strategy, figure out what the local consumer wants in that local market, and and of course, like there's all the other components of the customer piece, but playing with the algorithm where you can try to get into the first 3 pages of the search. So that's really your goal, searching all those things, and with time, it's like we've been able to optimize that particular property and replicate it across. Now we have 7 with another 4 coming under contract, so it'll be 11 of those tiny homes that we have.
That is awesome. All Joshua Tree? You got the whistle there.
Yeah, so all those are Joshua Tree. So I mean, we've been able to scale through partnerships. So those are 11 in Joshua Tree, and then we have 4 cabins currently in Tennessee, with an additional 4 or 5. I'm getting them mixed up, but I think it's like another 4 under contract in different phases that are new builds that we got under contract way before, like right before like the craziness happened with like everybody trying to invest in Airbnbs.
So that was a big shift in the past year where a lot of people started jumping to the national parks because everybody wanted to get outdoors because of COVID, right? They were tired of being indoors, especially getting out of the cities. Did that change drastically for you since you're out in these national parks? Like, what was the time frame and the shift in terms of the customer, the boost of customers that you started seeing as well?
So I think there's going to consistently be people investing. So I know there's like some skepticism right now, like, oh, like are people going to travel international? Or are they not going to go to national parks anymore? And or are they going to be traveling other places? But during COVID, we benefited because everybody traveled locally somewhere within 2 hours of area. And I think especially in SoCal, there's only a couple of places you can really go, and people want to unplug. And it became cool with the just different crowds, right? So you have like the hipsters from LA, or or like even like business professionals who just want to like unplug, or even like younger crowds. And you always have like the base of like those like the people who just like to be out in the desert and outdoors. And so it's been a mix, but I think really what you have to do is continue to evolve your product, and so that way you stay ahead of the curve, and so that you're in the search algorithm in the first 3 pages. And if you can do that consistently with whatever market you're in, and that's even like doing your own research, going on Airbnb and typing, let's say for in our example, Joshua Tree, what are the other listings have? What's the feedback on them? And just consistently making those adjustments over time. And that's what we did. I mean, we really didn't know what to expect. And like this year, like we've, I think occupancy wise, it's like 90+% across all our tiny homes this year. So it's and the market itself is probably in the 60s, but I think there's a huge demand if you can provide a really great product where people have a great experience, and they talk about it. And so I think our reviews for this last quarter for Superhost status for Airbnb, I think it was a 4.9, and there's 2 profiles that we have, and I think it was like 500 days each or so. I don't know if that adds up the math, but yeah, so like something along those lines. So and just staying consistent.
Yeah. I just posted an article like 2 days ago about Joshua Tree. The New York Times actually put up a article, and it was talking about how there was, did you read that? So there's like 1,800 Airbnbs in Joshua Tree, and like there was one place that was making like crazy amount of money. And it was talking about, is it sustainable? And there's also like, ordinances coming in there, and I think you guys are probably dealing with that now. So like, you have to stay ahead of the curve. You got to stay ahead of what's happening. You got to understand that people are going into that market. And they've been going there for a while. Like I remember Rafa, you and I were talking about this, like probably a couple of years ago, I really wanted to get in there because I saw a girl, her name was, I forget her name, but she has a place called Hicksville Trailer Palace. And I was like, I want to do something like that. And she's in Joshua Tree. So I started really paying attention to that market. And this was like, 2 or 3 years ago, before COVID, probably actually 2019 or 2020. And I started realizing like, man, this is pretty cool. So now it's like, fast forward 2 years now, that's where investors are getting money. Like I go to meetups, and half of the people out of meetups are talking about Joshua Tree and are talking about the Smokies. Like those are like the 2 markets that everybody's like, I need to go here. So I think it is important to really make sure that you're staying on par with everybody else that's coming in. You're a comp that people are looking at to try to emulate. Like those are the specific, key metrics, I think, when you're coming into a market. And you guys have been able to do it consistently, and that's the hard part. But you're able to show proof of concept. So take me into. So you guys are making about 8 to 10K grossing per month on these units. What is the purchase price? What's your cash on cash return rate? And then we'll kind of shift and talk about what your structure with partnerships look like.
Yeah, so they've evolved. So we initially were purchasing them for, it was 285 was the first one, and that was, I'm gonna say, September of 20, September 20. So now that the last set we purchased for 339. So they haven't really gone up that much in price, and now the new sets include solar panels. So that'll save us about $200 a month on utilities for like the electric. Wait, what was the question again? Yeah.
Yeah, your first deal. Yeah, you're good, man. So your first deal, you're 285. See, I thought stuff in Joshua Tree was way more than that, but I guess if you look at it in square foot, it is quite a bit. Like your original mentality was like, 400 square foot, we're paying like freaking $1,200 a square foot, or even more than that. So yeah, my question was, what is the purchase price? What's your cash on cash returns look like now? And then that same property you bought for 285, is that like worth way more now, or is it still relatively pretty close in price?
So it's interesting. So yeah, part of our ability to scale and get those, because ironically you would be competing with quite a few buyers in the MLS if you were to buy it on market, but we've been buying them off market. So pretty much the builder, he's been selling it to us. I don't say exclusively because there's still a couple here and there that I've seen, but we pretty much own a majority of his tiny homes that he's produced. And part of it is, we have a buy and hold strategy. We improve the quality of his build, and I think he has a high sense of pride in his work product. And secondly, so he's sold. Now I'm going to give you an example because I'm going to answer your question here. So he sold a property, a tiny home, to an investor, and then the investor put in 20-30K into it, made it a turnkey Airbnb, and then sold it for $499. So that was that really pissed him off. So he brought that to my attention to kind of reiterate, hey, this is why I'm doing business with you. He's basically said there's so many people that approach him every day to purchase from him, and he says no. And he's really picky on who he sells to. And his time is very valuable. He's, he has so many projects going on one time. So we've proven we're able to close. We don't really give him too much hassle, and because his time is so valuable, he doesn't want to like deal with like the transactional piece of it, of something falling out of contract and being delayed, all these like financing delays. So we utilize the same person for financing because it's a lender he wants to work with, that he likes, that he knows gets the job done, and they use the local appraiser that knows the market, and it's not some random person from XYZ that doesn't know the market.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how we've been able to kind of scale and purchase them, because if you were to, they're not even listed on the MLS because there's not a lot of usually most people who have the tiny homes are gonna spend time finding the builder, buying the plot, and then they're not going to sell those. So you're just not going to see those for sale typically.
Got you.
Yeah, they're super rare to find on the market. That's why it's kind of cool the way you guys went in through the back end and found somebody who's willing to just say, hey, we'll work with you directly. We'll make sure everything's smooth. We're going to hold them so that we're not, taking money out of your pocket. We're going to pay you a fair price, and we're all going to work together for the future. I mean, geez, you have what, 4 more lined up? It's funny. I actually texted you last week when I was driving. I ran into one of them. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, hey, this is Omid's. It's funny.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I like them. I think they're cool, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Jesse, did you have another question on that, or are we good?
No, yeah.
I apologize. You had the cash on cash question.
Yeah.
So cash on cash, we've been leveraging the 10% down loans. And it's varied. Of course, now like the rates are significantly higher, but back then, I mean, I had one loan in my name, I had one loan in my wife's name. And so we were trying to scale that way in terms of still leveraging the 10% down loan. Now we've scaled with partnerships. So we target a minimum of a 40% cash on cash return, so that we can provide our partners with a 20% cash on cash return. So what we're doing is we bring an equity partner, they qualify for the loan, and They carry the loan, they bring the capital, and then we optimize the property. And 20% is the minimum that we're targeting, but typically, I mean, they're outperforming that. So 20 meaning, so that would be at 40 total. So I think for us, I'm gonna say easily. I should do the math, and I could give you the exact number, but easily 50+% cash on cash.
Yeah, that's freaking amazing.
Awesome.
So you guys are structuring it in the sense that you're getting private money to come in to fund the deal. You're still on the note. Yeah. And then you're also managing the property, it sounds like you're doing some construction work on the property too to bring it to life. Because it's not that the guy's not doing enough. You guys are just making it to what you are expecting for your clientele.
Yeah, so like we require a $30,000 initial startup cost, and that $30,000 goes into design, furnishing, hot tub, just to get it like up and running, optimized right off the bat. Because we realized we originally were doing a startup cost of $15,000 without the hot tub, without the fence, and it pretty much almost doubled the growth. So we're like, okay, it makes sense to just do that up front instead of like trying to figure it out on the back end when somebody, a partner may not be liquid, or we may not be liquid because we're working on certain projects. So that's kind of how we decided to kind of work it out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So because partnerships are so, joint ventures are so, there's so many different moving parts. So I think that if anybody's looking to get into that, I've always wanted to do that. Rafa and you and I talked about that too, that there's so many ways to get into partnerships, especially if you're able to run numbers the right way and really know what your market's going to do, especially if you're there already. And then you get people to trust you and then to fund you. And then that one deal becomes 2 and then becomes 5 and then becomes 10. And then those investors that have that capital to deploy, like you're the go-to guy for that. You become that. And then they tell their buddies, and then guess what? You have this whole big old giant pool. And that's probably what's happening to you guys right now.
Yeah, I think like, both of you are like have proven track records. You have the proof of concept, and it just, as your stories continue to grow and as you guys grow your platforms, it's like people are going to throw money at you, want to partner with you. And now it's like you're in a position where you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. But I think you guys are in a great position where it just, figure out what terms work. And every partnership is different, and our partnerships have evolved. Like initially we would contribute to the initial capital with our partnerships, and then we realized there was so much demand for it that we kind of like to make sure that it worked for us, and that what was always slowing us down was the deal flow. So it was just like the ability to find something that was cash on cash 40%. So that's how we underwrite deals. It has to be at least 40% cash on cash, where then we split it 20/20, so it's worth it for an investor. Especially, right now, like the stock market at this point is, not doing well, and a lot of the financial markets are probably not going to do well for a little while. So this is a great alternative, and you're still getting, and it's outperforming the stock market, and you get all the other benefits from, ownership and being hands off, right? Just like a passive investor, because a lot of apartment syndications, you invest in those, and those are like 8% return, 10% return, like a good one, 10% return, and it's like, this is like double that. And you get to own something like a cool asset.
Not to mention that those are 10% return after 3 years,
Yeah.
You guys are doing them significantly faster. So
Yep.
let me touch on this whole thing. Do you guys, when you initially purchase it, do you refi and pull that money back out, and does it go back to the initial investor, or does it stay in the deal for the life of the deal? How do you guys structure it?
Yeah, so it stays in the life of the deal. And then pretty much our exit strategy is, minimum 5-year hold. So ideally we like the cash flow longer, but things happen. So that way it gives the flexibility, because even like with apartment syndications or any sort of funds, they're typically your 5-year hold or so. So, we just try to make sure that it aligns with our goals and their goals, and that it's a good fit.
Got it. The reason I ask is because I would imagine, since you're getting these houses significantly cheaper because you're buying them directly from the builder, right? You're gonna get them with instant equity, and then you guys are putting value behind it, so it goes up in value. Wouldn't it make sense? And this is just a question. I don't know. You're right. You're the expert here, but
Sure.
Wouldn't it make sense to refi out maybe 6 months down the line, pull that initial initial investment out and either give it back to your investors or split it or maybe purchase another one with that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So I know a lot of people in the short-term rental space are doing that, where they're scaling by refinancing, pulling that equity, and then reinvesting in another one, and they're and then both properties are cash flowing, and you're scaling that way. So yeah, that's something to consider. I guess we haven't really thought about that, but yeah, that is a great model, and I know a lot of people are doing that.
I think that's great for like when you're an individual doing it, but when you guys have financial backing, so you don't technically have to do that. And plus, that's like a value add in 5 years. If you do sell that, all the equity is already there, and you get to split that up between everybody. But starting off, yeah, totally. If you're by yourself or just one or you or other guy, but you guys have like been able to advance far enough where you don't even have to think about that. You know what I mean? That's which is freaking amazing, because that's the goal, is eventually get to a point where you don't have to put any money in. You're doing the work, but your work is going to translate, and you guys are managing too. And a lot of people don't realize property management is like 25-30% on 100,000. That's like, 30K a year that you're basically investing into that already without, you're not paying for it up front, but you're doing it over the life of the loan. And then you do that 30 times 5. I mean, what is that, 150K? Kind of like you already invested in there. And I'm sure you guys aren't even keeping any of that. You're probably just divvying everything out directly right down the middle. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I got a question for you, actually. When you guys first started off and you weren't putting any money in at all, or you say you were putting less, did you have investors get like pissed at you guys? Like, oh, well, you're only putting this much in, or you're only doing this. Did you ever have that like, negative kind of, because I always looked at deals, if you don't put skin in the game, like people get pissed. Or if you do put skin in the game and you put like a small percentage, did you ever have investors that were like, hey man, like you didn't do enough?
So yeah, so we had different structures. So like an example, the very first one we had was a 75-25 split, but it was a straight equity split down the 75-25, and then we charged a property management fee. So in that case, we contributed 25% to the down to the and then we agreed anything in sort of expenses moving forward would be 50-50, and that was, and then but we charged a property management fee. So it evolved, but I guess everybody's just depends on your proof of concept and what you're comfortable with, and what whatever works for you and the partner. But I think at this stage there's so much interest in short-term rentals that 50-50 seems like pretty, I don't say normal, but I think it's easier, like people understand it more.
I mean, it always goes, these partnership structures always go down to what makes each party happy, right? There's no one way to do it all.
Yeah.
I can go in and say, hey, you give me all the money, I do all the work, you're a passive investor. Or hey, we go 50-50, you do half the work, I do half the work, we go down the middle. Or I can say, hey, just give me the money, I'm going to set it up, I'm going to convert to a short-term rental, I'm doing all the work, I'm not doing a management fee, but when we refi, I give you back your money and you still get a little piece of equity, maybe just a small percentage, and I'm going to give you a percentage of the cash flow and you get your money back. Be so many ways to structure this stuff, right? It's not one size fits all. Just because one person's not happy with putting all the money down doesn't mean another person won't be, right? If you say, no, I want to do 50-50 down the middle, then what's going to be fair in terms of operation down the middle?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It can't be, I give 50% down, you give 50% down, and then I do all the work. What are you bringing to the table other than the 50% down? To me, like that would be something that I wouldn't be down for.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody that goes, hey, I'm super wealthy, I have a bunch of money laying around, I just want to be passive, just shoot me some cash every month whenever the payouts come in, go do your thing, right? They bring the entire down payment in, and then I do all the hard work, I implement my system, I build the process, and then they're happy because they're just getting a check while they're already doing their actual thing. So there's so many different ways to do it. There's not one size fits all. And that's the one thing that people don't understand is everybody thinks that, oh, well, I heard that so-and-so is doing this, so I expect this. And it's like, well, did you hear what so-and-so is doing in terms of work as well? Or do you just hear about the initial deposit of what people are talking about? You know what I mean? Because I hear it all the time, man, even with like apartment syndication.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I do now, right? So it's, that I'm in charge of a portal that, anybody that's interested in a partnership, I have a discussion with them, but really the first thing that I'm trying to figure out is what are their goals? Like how can I bring value? Because I think you got to ask a lot of those questions to kind of understand, do your goals align, and is there, what we're doing, can that provide value to somebody else? And so like our avatar or person that we're trying to target is really just like a business professional that has no time, is interested, wants to diversify their portfolio, likes the asset class, but doesn't want to get their hands dirty. And that just seems to be like a mutually beneficial relationship where we can bring the value, and they have like the cash to invest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And like just talking to you right now, like I don't know how to structure any of that stuff, and that's why probably masterminds. And Rafa, you've been to a couple of these. Like you probably have guys talking about JVs and how those work, and how partnerships look. So like that's probably stuff you were able to pick up from a mastermind or some of the meetups you go to. Like I'm trying to learn more about those things because I feel like if somebody doesn't go 50-50, then they're just going to be like somebody's going to have resentment or bad blood that's going to happen. But Rafa, you're absolutely right. Like there's a lot of other work that gets involved. And then Omid, you guys have been able to like over time learn what works, what doesn't work, and then how to push the envelope even a little bit further, and then bring your own flair into it and your own kind of that's awesome.
Jesse, I've been structuring deals even before, like with arbitrage, from the very beginning. It's just getting creative and and there's no look, you can go to a million masterminds, Jesse, and a million people will teach you a million different ways. But ultimately, it's going to go down to what that other person's happy with regardless. So you really got to go in with the blank slate and say, hey, what is it that you're trying to get out of this partnership? Let's get all of the basis points down and all the expectations down now so that there's no resentment or arguments in the future. So if I go to you and I go, okay, what are you trying to get out of this? Do you want to be involved in the day-to-day, or do you want to have a passive investment? What's important to you? Is equity important? Is cash flow important? Is depreciation important? Asking all those questions is what's going to go, okay, well, this might be a better structure for you as opposed to this structure for him. So it really depends on which side of the spectrum the other person wants to be involved in, because it's not you. Nobody can really teach you. Like, look, I've learned 4 different syndications for multifamily. I've learned 10 different ways of partnering JVs for just single family, and I know I've structured 6 different deals for arbitrage, right? So, and it's all based on what the other person wants to do. I have a dude that's giving me 75K, and he wants nothing to do with it except receive a check every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I said,
Yep.
okay, I'll give you a check every 6 months. Give me your money. Thank you. And I move on with my life.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it really goes down to what the other person wants to do, and having those, like Omid, like you said, right? You find out what their goals are and what their expectations are. But it's I got to tell everybody this, right? It's super, super important to have the difficult conversations in the beginning, because it will always lead to either bad blood or headaches later. You got to figure out what's the expectations of both sides first. You got to figure out what is the operations of both sides during the deal. And then the one that everybody always forgets is what's the exit strategy in case one person decides to say, hey, I want out. Or what if you really piss me off 5 years down the line and I can't stand your face? What's the exit strategy there, right? Or what if somebody hits me up? You're going down the road on a motorcycle and someone hits you, that's a different story. But you need to have your ducks in order for that. So those are the 3 things you really, really always have to have up front: the expectation, the operations, and the exit of the partnership. If you don't have that, man, believe me, I've been through it. I've done it all. It's going to end up being really, really bad. So anyway, Omid, so you have 7 STRs right now operating. You have 4 in the pipeline. Like, what's the future? Like, what's the ultimate goal for you? Like, where are you taking your business? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish long term?
It's I just want to just keep having fun. Like I think that's a big thing. Like I think we're gonna continue to scale. We want to kind of. So my partner wants to be the face of short-term rentals long term. I'm like the guy behind. I don't want to say behind the scenes, but he has, what is that called? Pretty privilege. Like you're a content creator and then you have a pretty face, and so people are more willing to listen to you if you have good content and you're good looking, right? So so he has that going for him. So, but yeah, he wants to be the face, and I'm just along for the ride. I just want to just continue to work hard, provide value, and really, I love to travel. So for me, like short-term rentals is great because it's I've been able to travel a lot more since I quit my W-2 this January. So I just recently quit, and
Congrats.
I've traveled. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and I literally traveled more in the first 6 months of the year. I'm going to travel more than I have in a long time. And independent of COVID, I would have still traveled. Like COVID never. I was on the set of not just continue to live my life, like, camp of like when COVID happened. But yeah, so like we're gonna travel to a couple different destinations coming up, markets that we're visiting that we're interested in, and doing the market research, and that's great. Like for me, that's exciting. Like I love that, and hospitality. Like I've always loved hosting parties, and you're just kind of hosting other people. So like of course you're gonna deal with like some bad guests along the way, but there's a lot of great guests too. So
Always.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's but yeah, continue to scale, and I think long term it's do it. So we've done the partnerships, and now we're gonna eventually go into like a fund. So create a fund where purchase short-term rentals, and try to provide value through like a portfolio. So that gives us a little bit more autonomy, kind of just run the show. Because I think with partnerships, to a degree, at some point there might be some limitations because you want to get the opinion or of a partner, or but I think for scaling purposes, it's like a fund long term.
That's freaking awesome.
I love that.
Sorry, Rafa, I got a question right now before I forget this. Do you ever get upset that you're not the face and that the pretty face is on the face is the face of the face? Like, do you ever get like resentment in the background? It's like, man, I want to freaking be that guy.
No, you know what? There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and I just enjoy like the process. So for me, I don't have to be the face. I just want to be able to just enjoy, have the experience, learn, build the skills, continue the network, and just being exposed to people who are like, high achieving, high net income people that I think that's where I get the most value. So I don't have to be the face, but I've been testing out this TikTok thing, like can I grow an audience? Like, and I'm just playing with it. But I know once you eventually want to scale, you really have to hire a professional to do those things, and not quite there yet, but yeah. So it's no resentment. I don't need to be the face, and my partner is 10 years younger, and I'm in a different phase where my priorities really lie more in like my kids. So I have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So right now it's just like I'm doing coaching for the first time, which is amazing, and like taking them to school every day. I know it's like cliche, but it's just those little things that I wasn't able to do doing the corporate job, having the flexibility. So just kind of you look at like wealth, right? And it's like financial wealth, social wealth, time wealth, physical wealth. So my physical wealth has improved. My time wealth I would say the same. Like it just like diverted into different things. My social, I feel like, has improved, and financial, I think there's just an upward trajectory for that. So I'm just kind of doing those things. If I was like 10 years, 15 years younger, I'd love the spotlight, but it's just, I think as we get a little bit older, not that I'm old. I mean, I think, that I just hit 40.
I mean, you look like you're like 24,
Yeah, dude.
bro. I think you're undervaluing yourself in the age spectrum right now, my friend.
Dude, I'll be 41 in October. So, but I think also they keep me young, right? Like, just you're only as young you feel, and I want to continue to just do my thing and have fun.
Omid, I'm about to turn 40.
Damn, Jesse, you're old, bro. You look like you're like 45, Jesse.
I know I do.
Yeah, I mean, when you have your hat off, it's like more white, right?
Yeah,
there we go.
Dude, look at him. See, the hat makes him look 10 years younger, dude.
But that salt and pepper look, that's like women love that.
Salt and pepper look. Yes.
Yeah, bro. Women are dyeing their hair now, but hang on before
we're gonna change your name on the bottom.
Change it, dude. I feel like when I'm hitting 40, dude, it's like something's happening to me. Like I freaking it's kind of freaking me out a little bit, where I'm like, because 30, I didn't care. And how women will be like 18, 21, 25, 30. It's like this thing, right? Like men is just like whatever. But for some reason, dude, like this 40 number is just kind of fucking with my head. Like it's like, dude, I'm gonna be 40.
Jesse, it's called a midlife crisis, my friend.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, that's not what they call it. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna start skateboarding every day now and go back to my my adolescence.
He already went and got the expensive Tesla car. He's already got taking all the young, cool photos. Jesse, you're going through a midlife crisis, bro.
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, but 40 freaks me out. But Omid, if you guys watching this, when you see him, this guy looks like he's like 26. I'm not even kidding.
No,
Your age.
I literally just got a haircut for this podcast. So I had like this man bun. I had like a man bun right here, like for like all of COVID. And so I grew it, and I would just shave the sides. That it had kind of, I don't know, like the Vikings look, or I don't know. But
hey, I thought it was cool when I first saw you. I was like, oh, what, dude? This guy's rocking a badass little man bun. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just literally just cut it, so it was gone. So now I'm going for a more like Ryan Pineda, like, pretty boy hair kind of look, right? So look a little younger.
Dude, it's funny. Because I feel bad now. I should have cut my hair just because you cut your hair, dude. Like, my hair's long. I'm wearing a hat just because I can't even comb it because it's so long. But, you know, I actually just dyed my hair, too. I was telling Jesse about it.
I was debating it because the hat thing, right? You guys both had the hat thing in a lot of the episodes. And I was like, okay, I got to bring the hat, so I could be like you guys. So I was like, I was debating. I'm like, haircut or hat, so.
Nah, the haircut looks clean, my friend.
Looking
you look
fresh,
good.
bro.
Jesse, flipping them around.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
So really quick, because we're getting to the top of the hour, and I'm having a lot of fun, but we got to keep it under an hour here. I was gonna say, I wanted to touch on that whole like social media thing, and it's all about because we always ask two questions. Okay, so before we get to that segment here, I wanted to touch on that really quick because I just finished reading this book, Who Not How, right? Have you guys read it? It's an awesome book. You guys should read it, by Dan Sullivan. And
you read it or you listened to it?
Both, actually. I did both. And so I read it on the way back from North Carolina, and I just re-listened to it again because it's really, really good. But the who part of your partnership, right, Omid, it's not that you want to be the background guy, but you enjoy more of the other side of things. So the who for the social media is your partner. He enjoys that part. But it's such an important aspect in society nowadays to have somebody be the face of social media, because you want to always be that person who's the expert in that realm, because it attracts a lot of partnerships, private money, business, like everything, right? So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that really quick because it's not about you doing everything, but it's about who in that spectrum of your circle can be that person for you. And if you guys haven't read it, you guys should. It's an awesome, awesome book. It's pretty much everything I already do anyway. I delegate all my work to the who, not how I do it. Jesse, actually, you should read it, my friend. It's really good.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's transition over to the questions that we ask everybody, Omid. And I hate to go there because I'm really having a fun time right now on this call. on this recording, I mean. But let me ask you, being that this is the Big Break show, we got to ask, what was your big break in terms of life, business, relationships, whatever you want to talk about it. There's not one specific thing, not even in short-term rentals, anything, where it made you pivot from one thing to another to escalate. Like for me, my big break is entrepreneurship and getting the mindset shift correctly into being able to build businesses, right? Short-term rentals is another big break of mine because it escalated into the real estate world. What was your big break in life of something that made you go from one thing to another and just increase your output?
So my big break is COVID. So COVID really, I traditionally worked in a office setting, and in that office setting, literally the moment I step in, like I'm in the zone and I'm working from, and I try to always be the first one in the office. So I'm in there 6 a.m., let's say, and then I'm in there working, and then I'm the one greeting everybody, and I'm the one helping everybody, and then between that and time I go home, there's no personal calls. There's no there's nothing that I could do personally for myself. And it was just a lot of giving. And so the break happened in COVID because I was able to multitask and be able to still fit in, still do my job, do it really well remotely at home. So I worked at home pretty much permanently after the transition of COVID. And that really opened so many doors for me in terms of, okay, I can be in my pajamas. I'm going to do this mastermind from 4:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. Then I'm going to go run from this time to this time. Then I got to get my kids ready. So it opened the doors of like spending, because before COVID, I never dropped off my kids once before. Like it was like I was always the guy who had to be first in the office. So that was always my wife's responsibility. So I was able to spend time with my family. I was able to get involved in a lot of activities that transitioned me into short-term rentals. And of course, short-term rentals is the big break for me as well. So that really catapulted me into, like, I had a 5-year plan. 5 years, I retire. My goal was to have $1 million in my 401k, and the percentage that I was contributing every month, I would have hit that at age 45. But what ended up happening was short-term rentals kind of catapulted me, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to have $1 million in my 401k. My 401k is now going to be my equity in the homes. My 401k is going to be my, and I still have the cash flow replaced my income. And so now I walk away from my 6-figure job and doing this full time. I have more time. I'm in better health. I feel better, and I'm less stressed. And and now I'm like, going through that midlife crisis, like Jesse,
That's my
just trying to,
Corvettes,
like,
man.
I'm like, hey, like, doing more photos in social media. And, like, I didn't have time for that. I like, if you look at my social media activity prior to COVID, and my company kind of indirectly, like, frowned upon it. So because I was in management, so I was just like, you can't really fully be yourself. And so now this allows me to. So sorry, long drawn out answer, but
I love that.
that's it.
Dude, I was in the same
That
boat.
was great.
Corporate world, you got to be like, I have tattoos and stuff. I had to wear long sleeves all the time. I had to be like very clean cut. I had to be like, I couldn't be myself. And the thing with entrepreneurship is, dude, you could be yourself and people will embrace that. Like, there's a lot of people that are,
they love it.
Yeah. And it's just, that's how most people are. But you go into work, you just got to be like suit and tie. Hey guys, yes sir, yes ma'am. That's just the nature of it.
Jesse had quit his job. He was coming to the recording wearing boxers and a t-shirt, dude. And I was like, bro,
dude, that's the best.
I was like, you got to start at least wearing pajamas to the recordings.
I was just wearing the boxers and the tees, bro. That's the way to roll. But you know what, Omid, you brought something up. Hang on. I want to, before I forget this, picking up your kids and dropping them off, like, that's such a little special thing that you get to do. Like, I get to do that now, and I've luckily had a job where I worked from home and I can kind of do that. But still now, dude, like, it's really imperative for you to do something like that, because those little tiny small things are very important, like going on, like later in life. You know what I mean? Like, my daughter just turned 18, and I can't tell you how fast time goes. Like, it's freaking fast, like how fast time goes. So being able to spend those little moments with your family and pick up, drop off, take your kids to baseball or whatever. It's like, dude, you can't, like, money can't replace that. You know what I mean? It's so cool. But I also feel, and you probably can answer this, when you work for yourself, it's a different type of stress. It's not like office stress. It's a different kind. You might be taking calls at 9 o'clock at night or 10 or 11 or whatever, but you get to decide your own schedule. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. Even like when I announced that it was my last day of work, I put it on social media, and then I posted a picture of my tattoo, which I've never posted a picture of my tattoo. I have a Yakuza style bodysuit tattoo from like my back all the way down to my lower thighs, and I always hid those. Like, it was just like, and it was like very liberating. It was just like, okay, look, I'm me. This is me.
Right.
Bye. And it was like,
awesome tattoo, by the way. I saw it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So it was like an amazing feeling, and it's a great thing.
Well, I'm happy for you, man. Also, one of our segments in this here is we talk about learn and apply. So, like, something that somebody learned today from this episode, what can you suggest to somebody to move forward and actually have an actionable step to get either into short-term rentals, a mindset set up, just something that somebody can do literally today after listening to this?
Yeah, and I know you guys are big on, like, go outside of your comfort zone. So I know that's like cliche in itself, but it's really like, but before you even do that, you got to assess what is your threshold for discomfort, because everybody's discomfort is different. So let's say, are you willing to give up your weekend with your friends? Are you willing to give up your, whatever it is? Are you willing to give up your sleep? Let's say wake up a little bit earlier. But I think there's initial sacrifices that have to be made, and but getting outside of that, in that uncomfortable area is really where you grow. So like for me, it was okay. And during COVID, I kept having to wake up 30 minutes earlier and earlier as time went on, because I was taking on more responsibility. So I used to wake up at 5, then it was 4:30, then it was 4, and at one point I was waking up almost every day at 3:30 a.m. And that was just to
3 a.m. club.
Yeah, now just like trying to get all my responsibilities fulfilled with regards to like work, entrepreneurship, family, and still maintain sleep so you don't not kill your health. So it's all those things, and I think like once you go outside your comfort zone, force yourself to meet somebody that is not in your typical circle. So if you can force yourself to not be, that's where you're gonna learn. You're not gonna learn from being in the same circles. It's all right. I'm gonna go to this meetup. It's uncomfortable. I don't know anybody. I'm just gonna start with saying hi and see where the conversation goes. Hey, you want another drink? And then you start realizing, I'm multicultural. So like my dad is Iranian, my mom is Colombian, my wife is Vietnamese. So I'm used to having to build rapport with people that are of different groups because I'm forced to. And what you realize is people are a lot more relatable than you think than what's on the surface. So that's like my advice to people. People will relate to you more than you think, even if it's uncomfortable.
I love that. One of my goals a couple of years ago, it's still, I do it every year. It's try to do one uncomfortable thing every single day, whether it's talk to someone new, whether it's do something that I've never done before, whether like now every morning it's an ice cold shower. Every morning. I don't take any. Today's the first time I took a hot shower in, I don't know, 2-3 months, mainly because my girlfriend went in the shower first and the water was already warm. So I was like, damn it. But otherwise, I would have taken a nice cold shower. And that's a really uncomfortable thing to do. Even though I do it every day, it's extremely uncomfortable because it's freezing, right? And so doing something uncomfortable every day really does shift everything else that you do in life. Because like for me, for example, if I can't get through an ice cold shower, like what else am I not going to be able to get through? You know what I mean? If I can't get through a meetup by making one new relationship, what else am I not going to be able to do? Like I'm not going to get to the next level of in my investing career if I can't even go out and make one relationship at one meetup, So I absolutely love that, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, a lot of shrinkage every morning, huh?
Yeah. Poor Rafa. It's all right, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
No, he's got
Great.
a warm. He's cold, but he's got a towel. His girlfriend has she lines him up with a towel right out of the what is that called?
All right.
Wrong place, dude. You guys are terrible.
They got the blow dryer ready to kind of warm things up.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
There you go.
A hot towel. That's what I was looking for. A hot towel. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build a sauna. That's it. I'm just gonna jump straight in there right after.
You should, man.
Funny.
You know what? We just made Rafa uncomfortable right now. So there's your uncomfortable for the day, buddy.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome, man. Omid, dude, it's been a pleasure having you here. Where can folks find you at?
Yeah, so now that I'm kind of more active on social media, Omid the Rad Investor. So OMID and then the Rad Investor. Yeah, so Omid the Rad Investor. You can find me on IG. I have a link tree in my profile, and then it has links to and then if you want to invest with us, alphageekcapital.com. And you can schedule a call with me, and we can chat if you want to partner up on a future deal.
That's so freaking badass.
Yeah,
man.
thanks for coming on, man. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you coming on.
No, this is cool. Like I was excited to be like this is like you guys popped my my cherry for being on a podcast. So this is my first one. So I appreciate
All right,
that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, buddy.
We always remember our first time, right?
Yeah. Or we try to forget one or the other.
There you go.
I'm not gonna tell you what side I'm on that, but anyway. Omid, we appreciate you, man. Everybody listening to this, please share this episode with other people. If Omid brought some value, make sure that you guys follow him. He's doing some really big things. Even though he's not the face of the company, he has no resentment, and he is proud to say that. But Omid, it's been fantastic, man. Please, again, like and share this. We appreciate you guys all for being here, and we hope you have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.